If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to episode 17 of The Leaderboard, right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm a very proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with contest player and co-host Noah Maher and Matt Miller right below. Thanks for watching us tonight. Very exciting shows. We recap a thrilling Rebel Day contest last Sunday at Oaklawn and preview another contest at Oaklawn this Saturday. However, it is shared with the big card at Tampa Bay Downs for the Tampa Bay Derby. Of course, it is the $800 KDBC qualifier through TwinSpires. Thanks for joining us tonight. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, notification bell on the top right, and smash that like button below the video player. I want to give a quick shout out to our wonderful sponsors at TwinSpires for got a little merch going now. Thank you, TwinSpires. Really appreciate it. No. Oh, Matt, what does that say, Matt? A little hard to read. What does it say?
This one's pretty exclusive. I'll hold it up to the camera, but it is a KDBC hat. That's kind of cool.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
Okay.
I think
it looks
I
like
might have one somewhere. I think Noah's stuff got lost in the mail, Matt. Sorry, Noah. I don't think you're gonna get any merch. But anyway, how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
All good.
Good.
I actually had a good time with both TwinSpires contests today. Actually, the one at Tampa went well. I got knocked out at Turfway, but did my thing betting on the side. So yeah, they got plenty of action and lots of price points, and yeah, it was a good day.
Terrific. Well, we're here to talk about, of course, what happened this past Sunday, and you know, there's a lot of ups and downs in this game. Obviously, some people absolutely kicked some butt and got in the top 8, and then there's me, who lost by $16 in the top 8. But you know, I'll interject myself just a little bit into this conversation because it had an effect on the contest. But really, we're here, guys, to welcome someone who has not been on the show yet, and that's no one's fault whatsoever. Just the guy's just winning everything. I mean, he could have been on episode 3, 4, 8, 10, 11, just name it. He's a fantastic guy. This is the first time on our airwaves. He's won many TwinSpires contests. He's turned into simply one of the best live money contest players in the world. In saying that might embarrass him, but Matt, it's the damn truth. And go ahead, Matt.
I want to pile on even further because honestly, if you did a poll of experienced contest players today and said who's the tournament player of the year right now, I think it's Ryan, our guest. I genuinely. Chris, Skippy is probably a close second, but I think given the volume and consistency of what Ryan's been doing, he's really been a phenom to watch. So I'm psyched for this interview.
Well, and as we bring on Ryan here in a second, what's really cool, really about this whole game of horse racing and this podcast, which I call a family, as you guys know, is just the people you get to meet in this game, right? I mean, it just so happens that, of course, you're a senior at UK, Noah, and our guest, Ryan Petriniak, lives in Lexington. You've got to know him, and you guys can call each other friends. You've got each other's, emails and phone numbers and whatever. You've had many conversations with him, I'm sure. I mean, isn't that really what it's all about when it's said and done?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely full circle just because I ran into him and his dad at the blackjack table at the NHC last year. It was me and Jackson and Ryan, and then those two guys that filled up the 5 spots at the table. And just cool to talk to him. I know he was playing in it. And then we were there, obviously, to support Matt last year, and we're going to try to get our way in this year on Thursday in the last chance. But pretty cool that the guy that I was sitting 2 feet from at the blackjack table ended up living about 10 minutes down the road here in Lexington.
Crazy. Well, not only were you sitting with the blackjack table, now he's on the opposite corner of the screen. To the first time to the HHH Racing Podcast, Ryan Petriniak. Ryan, how you doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
I can't complain. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words.
Ryan, we'll get into the contest that happened this past Sunday. And you've been on a few other podcasts, but you haven't been on this one. And whether people play contests or not, they're starting to become familiar with you. Why don't you just very briefly tell a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in horse racing in general and in contests specifically?
Yeah. As a horse player, I grew up going to Saratoga with my family since I was 2. There's pictures of me and my sister in strollers in the backyard. And when I was about 4, that was when I got the bug and started playing fictional 10-cent exactas that my mom had to keep track of what they paid. So credit to her for that. And then I ended up going to Kentucky for school and really completely got the bug, and been playing horses my whole life, really. But the tournament thing really got more serious the last 3 years. I played my first tournament when I was in college at Keeneland. They do the $400 Friday challenge, and that was about my entire bankroll for the meet. So I was like, this is a great idea. Let's play this. And I was playing win, play, show bets. I did basically everything you should not do in a tournament over the course of that day. And I ended up, I think I won $50 that day, which was very fun. I was pretty proud of myself at the time, but in hindsight, but I definitely my backstory is the whole Drew Cotenway betting on Flightline. When I saw the headline for the 100,000, I'm like, this guy there's something wrong with him. And I started reading more into it and looking into it, and I just was like, well, maybe there's a way to do this. And then I just absorbed as much content as possible from as many people as possible, some of which I still follow, some of which I go against. And here we are. So, yeah.
And Ryan, you might be slightly embarrassed by what Matt and maybe Noah said. Now you have a chance to come back. Ryan, I think it's so cool that we're getting young people in the game. It's one of the big emphasis of this podcast. And, some people say, Howard, you're wasting time. 20-somethings aren't going to be coming into this game. More than half of my hosts and co-hosts, Ryan, are in their 20s. And you got to be really proud of this guy in the top right-hand side of the screen, what he's done in contests lately, too.
It's insane. When I was in college, I was a shell of what Noah is now. So I'm scared where he's going to be in 5 years. So,
yeah, we're all celebrating now, Ryan, until he keeps beating us all the time. And they're like, damn, that kid.
Yeah, and it might get old pretty quick. But the perception that this is an old guy's game is partially true, but it's also completely false because there are tons of young guys that are getting into this. And I've got friends that are asking me about, I know this isn't an NHC show in any way, but they're asking me about, like, are you going to that thing that Dave Portnoy guy's going to and playing contests? Well, is that what are you doing? And can we do that at Keeneland? And yes is the answer. So we're gonna get some guys involved, and we're gonna pull some money together. And that same $400 Friday contest, I'm gonna try to make their experience a little better than my first experience. So yeah, just
bring more people into the game. And Noah and Matt, it's not as if Ryan's some old man over there, by the way. So you got many, many, many decades of great play. And the last question, real quick, Ryan, what's your line of work? What do you do there in Lexington?
Yeah, I'm a financial planner. I came to Lexington as an equine science major, was in the program for about 2 months, and I was like, this is a great hobby, and this is a great, as it turns out now, great way to, maybe make a little money on the side, but it wasn't really what I wanted to pursue full time. So I got an internship when I was 20 years old at a financial planning firm, who is actually founded by last year's BCBC winner, Dave Smith.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He founded the firm in 2005. I got an internship there and knew absolutely nothing. And I've now worked every job in the building and kind of worked my way up, and really love doing it on a day-to-day basis. So, and the other thing that I love is the flexibility it gives me to be able to try to not schedule meetings on Friday afternoons during Keeneland. So that's why you can see me at the Keeneland Sports Bar on the second floor from about 2 to 5 every Friday and during the Keeneland meet. So
I'll be seeing you there in a month. Actually, I'm going to see you in about 48 hours, but that's a whole other story. Look forward to that. I know that your significant other is also involved in horse racing as well. So anyway, it's just really cool how things are going. Let's get into the contest, guys, right now. And this is where Matt and Noah, I'll let you ask sort of more questions before I interject myself in it. Ryan finished in first, unbelievable job. I'll bring it on the screen, and we'll talk about your strategy in this contest, Ryan, and also your contest strategy in general. Here, first, let's go to what the prizes were there. There were 7 KDBC seats through TwinSpires. Those are $5,000 seats, ladies and gentlemen. And then 8th place was basically a seat at $4,600. And here we are on the top of the screen. There we go. Ryan Petruniak, total of $64.10. Just absolutely amazing. And it was pretty obvious what you were doing here, Ryan. You had 2 entries, and I'm going to go ahead and also bring up the races we talked about. This was Oaklawn Sunday, Rebel Day. You had 2 entries. One entry you went all in on a win bet, and a pretty small field there, as I'll make this a little bit larger. You went all in on one entry on Flavian Prat and Tejano Twist, and then the other entry looked like you did an all-in exacta Booth over Tejano Twist. Obviously, these were the 2 likely winners. It's something that it appears by getting to know you and your contest plays that you really try to do, which is find that small field and just crush it all in on usually 2 bets. Not necessarily win bets, but 2 bets in general.
Yeah, the horse I liked was Tejano Twist, and in hindsight, I probably misbetted a little bit. I just thought the way that he would lose would be if Booth got loose on a slow pace, and he would plot up for second against a bunch of horses that had no business running against those 2. But my fear was that if they went fast, that Booth might fold off the layoff and not run second. So that's why I didn't bet the exacta. And I don't know if now's the time to go into kind of the contest strategy side of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I have kind of learned through these TwinSpires Saturday contests that each Saturday tends to have a different total. It's not always 4X. It's not always 8X. So if I have an opportunity early to go grab 3X bankroll and then maybe just let everyone else lose, that's the ideal situation. So my thought was, let's just move the ball forward on one of the entries, give myself some opportunities, and then see kind of how it plays out, because I had a strong opinion late in the card.
Did you have a number that you were focused on getting to at the end, or this really was, like you were saying, I think, more about game theory and just hand-to-hand combat, and you'll figure it out at the end what you need?
In this case, this is different than the way I play most of the time, but in this case, Tejano Twist for me is just the gritty, trying horse that always shows up. And I had such a high degree of confidence that I was going to I thought I'd get at least 900 to 1,000. So I had such a high degree of confidence in that. It was just, let's move the ball forward and then watch what everyone else does, and then I'll go from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Noah, do you have a specific question for Ryan in this contest or in general before we get to his massive play from race 10 to 11 that ended up clinching him the win?
Yeah, I want to know what the hell he was doing in races 4 and 5, and then not just playing show bets to save up for what he was going to do in race 10.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's a throw the poo-poo at him. Good.
Oh, he'll come back soon, I'm sure now.
I was hoping you'd ask this because I knew I'd get some blowback on this. So I think that I'm evolving on some of these show bets, because my thought is becoming more so the case that if I'm going to play 800 in doubles, I know I'm doing that going forward, and I know I can cover up the horses I like, then instead of playing the show bets and having 880, why don't I just try to take a little stab on 2 minimums? And if I happen to be right, which I wasn't even close, but if I happen to be right, then I don't even need to bet later. So my thought was, let's try to just get lucky. And if my opinion on those races were correct, then I could hit for a number. My target at that point was around 2,500, and the probables I think were around that target. So to kind of, I'm being a hypocrite here because I just told Matt I didn't have a target, but I kind of did. So
no, well, and so I think, to be fair to you with that question, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming those are not plays you would have made if you hadn't already hit once.
Oh, no. Yeah.
It's so much easier to do once you've already hit once, that the $40 just doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't know exactly what the odds would be on the double that I liked, but I knew that 800 was plenty, and I'll explain what I was doing there in a second. But I knew 800 was more than I needed to get the double I wanted. So I knew I needed to fill 2 minimums before that. So the thought was, let's just find logical spots with horses I liked that could potentially get there if the pace fell the way that no one thought it would. And then the pace went exactly as everyone else thought it would, and I lost. So, yeah.
Plus, I mean, who's going to really lose by like $20, $30, $40 anyway at the end of the
It never happens.
So it doesn't really, I mean, well, oh boy. Ryan, what's absolutely astounding about that story and that question, and I didn't know Noah was going to ask that question at all, is that, and I'll show my plays a little bit after once you're off the screen probably, but I actually did a $40 show bet on the winner in the really loaded maiden race with the 3 with Johnny V that actually won, and had I put a win bet instead of a show bet, again, who knows what would have happened, but it's sort of funny how you don't regret your play, and I don't really regret my play, but I'm sort of starting to think what's wrong with at least shifting it over to place or a little more risky to get up there, right?
I'll push back on that a little bit. I wouldn't have played an exacta or a double. I wouldn't have played anything but a show unless I thought that bet could get me to the winning number. So the only reason I played that was because I thought I had an angle that could potentially be basically risk-free, and I mean, not risk-free, $40, but not risking my tournament life, and could win the tournament. And eventually, if I think that I haven't actually won one doing this yet, but I think that if I keep making the early move in a 2-move tournament and keep playing these little random exactas and stuff, I think eventually I am going to catch one, and that will be a good play. So, and maybe I'll never do it, and I'm just torching mine. So yeah.
Let's talk about your last big play, Ryan. And you know, we were live on Weekend Warriors. I think you jumped in at some point on the show because I think we saw your name in the chat. And by the way, we really do appreciate your support of our live shows. It came to race 10, we decided to make a big push. And I thought in general, this was a very, very difficult race. I thought it was completely wide open. I wasn't fully sold on Banksy, the 10, even though I know that he was the favorite. The horse that won, Gethsemane, Jackson and I were a little bit against just because he was okay at Fairgrounds, but it was IRAD on the inside. We both like Dragonus a little bit also, but he was stuck with the 11 hole. And this is a race that really did it for you, I think, in general. Of course, you had to have the double, but it looked like in general, you needed the 2 and the 10. And great job getting through this race because I thought this was a real cluster.
Yeah, this was probably my strongest opinion of the day, actually. I really thought that I could lock this up with those 2 horses. I thought that the 2 I thought IRAD would put the horse in position where if they didn't go crazy early, that he would put himself into a good spot and get him there. And I thought the only way that he was going to lose was if they went fast and Banksy ran him down. So again, I kind of was kicking myself here to not play exactas because I could have just won it right there. But I didn't trust that. Basically, I needed the pace to go both ways for them to both hit the exacta. So that's why I didn't play it like that. But it was that's why I like the race.
And it looked like you were live to the 3, 4, and 6 there in the Rebel. It looked like you probably Dutched it, so you didn't really care who would have one of those 3. Is that correct?
Well, I messed up the Dutch, so I did care a little bit.
Okay.
I hated Litmus Test. I thought that I didn't think he had any chance, to be honest with you. I thought that he would not finish the race, and I was just very against him in the spot. The 2 horses I liked were Class President, just because of I thought he'd stretch out well, and I liked Blackout Time a little bit. I think that I thought last year that Ted Noffy's best race was the one at Keeneland, and I thought that he had the right to prove that. And if he ran well off the layoff, then he would be very tough. So those were the 2 that I really wanted. So my target at that point, the board was much higher than most Saturdays, which was not ideal. I don't know the exact multiple, but basically my target was I felt like 3,000 was good to win. And I always, when I'm Dutching these doubles, I always try to build in I call it the CAW buffer. So I tried to basically say, okay, let's do the math for like 35 to 4. And that way, if it goes the other way, I'm not going to get in trouble. So I did that with the 3 and the 4. And that left me, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but it left me enough dollars that I could not afford the Mark Cassidy that almost beat me. And that was my 3rd choice. So that was a daunting stretch drive. But the horse I could afford was the other Cassidy that did not run well in the previous race, but he had some back class to potentially be involved. So I threw him in, and I was live the most to Class President. I was surprised I actually drifted up. I was surprised how dead he was on the board after Solitude Dude, but yeah, that's how I did that. So
in that situation where you like that 7 horse, the Cassie horse, are you betting that on the side, or are you really just rolling the dice and letting it fly?
Yeah, I bet it in cash, not for the same amount that I would. I wouldn't have won that amount, but I had a little bit. I had enough in cash to have a profitable day if the 7 would have beat me. But yeah, I was definitely cheering hard for Class President down the stretch.
So it's just interesting, and I'll talk about myself for 30 seconds and then just drop it. I think I was in 8th place in the tournament at this exact point, and I figured, all right, for me, I'm going to shove on Litmus Test. It just felt like it would get me to my number. I played 2 horses in cash on the side. They happened to be the winner and the second place horse. So coming down the stretch, I was okay.
You were leaning back more than I was.
Well, and you know me, I tend to bet a little bit more aggressively on the side so that if I lose, I'm not totally miserable. So yeah. I wanted to know just your view on that in general, and if you're doing that, and it makes complete sense to me that you do.
I do bet on the side. I probably am less aggressive on the side than you are. So that it wouldn't have been as good if the 7 would have won. And at the 8th pole, I was sure the 7 was going to win.
Yeah.
I still can't. I don't know how class president dug in on there. So
the last 2 races were absolutely crazy to my detriment. Of course, last question for you, Ryan. Actually, no, I'll let you ask the last question, but my last question for you, Ryan, is, and please be brutally honest, because we're about to talk about myself and Jackson in this contest once you leave the screen here. I was in a tough spot. As you know, I was in 8th on the bubble there, and I played $175. Unfortunately, it was about $16 too much, but I felt like I had to make a play, because if I had sat, Ryan, I was almost convinced for sure that unless some crazy chaos reigned, which of course it did, that I need to make a play there to move up. Have you been in those situations where you're right on the bubble? And what do you recommend that I do either way? Or do you feel like it was just sort of a bad luck situation for me as I lost the seat by $16?
So 2-part answer. First, yes, I think you played it right at that point. I will say, I think that the significance of the last race in these tournaments is not as big as like a BCBC or a KDBC where it's super top heavy. And I've gotten to the point, especially when it's an Arkansas bred disaster, which basically the last race was. Shout out to Chris Nichols. I don't know how he had that, but good job. Unbelievable. He's sharper than I am if you can come up with that. That was something else. But my thought is to try to put yourself in a position before that where it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
That would be my only if you said you want to critique, I would say push harder early and just go to a point where if the top 8 are getting in, put yourself in second, or where Jackson was 3rd, I was 1st. No one was coming after us. We could just sit there and play our $40 show. And I would way rather do that than try to come up with an Arkansas bred disaster, because this is not the BCBC. So
that was sort of my calculation. I didn't think I'd have to make another bet. In fact, Noah and I were texting a little bit saying, maybe I should make another bet. And like Noah's like, why? Just sit, and he was right, though. I don't blame Noah at all. I think he was right. The problem is my stronger opinions were before the Rebel, actually. And if I bet hard on the Rebel, Ryan, to be very honest, I would have lost a lot more because I didn't love class president. So it's just one of those weird situations.
Part of that was just luck, because you pushed on your spots, and at the time it probably felt like a number that you were clear, and then the board kind of blew up. I mean, also there's very few contests where an 8-to-1 shot wins the stakes race, and I think 3. I know Marshall, Jackson, and myself had it. Did anyone? I mean, at least 3 of the people. That's pretty rare. So you kind of caught a weird spot there. Maybe just start texting Jackson who he's getting out during the week before, and just have that in your mind. And,
he was actually on the show, Ryan. Said he loved class president. I just didn't like him as much.
Maybe just go start betting those in cash that can be your head.
That's what I did. I'm sitting there listening to this guy make this really convincing case. I'm like, how do I not have this? And so thankfully I acted on it.
And the problem is, he's starting to get reputable enough that people are starting to follow him, which is going to be a problem going forward. So we're going to have to talk to him about that.
Noah, you get the final word with your friend Ryan. And Ryan, really appreciate you coming on. Congratulations for all your success. I look forward to seeing you in 48 hours. Noah, you get the last question for Ryan.
Well, I don't need to ask him about strategy or nothing like that, because anytime we see each other, I mean, it's just all we talk about. So I want to know who he likes coming up in the Derby here, because I know we had a couple good preps last weekend, another one next weekend. So I know there's one you like, and maybe you can give me some credit for that. But who do you like?
Well, I've got a big old golden tempo future, because Noah tried to get me in on him before he made his first start. So I'll give credit where credit's due there. I don't think he's good enough, though. But I'm still cheering. I hate this is probably a longer answer than you wanted. I think that it gets a little overdone. Everyone's trying to figure out a race in 8 weeks where 20 horses are running, where in the last, I think, 7 years, the best horse of the group won once in Sovereignty. So as far as who's going to win the Derby, I don't know. The horse that I think is really interesting is running at Tampa on Saturday. I think the Chad Brown that won,
Canaletto.
Thank you. I think he's really interesting. I think he could be really good going forward. And I also think that the first two finishers in the Fountain of Youth ran a better number and did it more impressively than anyone else's run. So those are the two that I want going forward. And especially Chief Wallaby, because he was, I think, 2 lengths better. But Commandment also, you could argue he'll be better stretching out. So those are the two that I think have kind of none of the Derby prep races until Saturday made me feel like, oh, that's a Derby horse. That Fountain of Youth was kind of the one that I was like, okay, here we go. These are the ones I'm interested in. But that said, on the first Saturday in May, I'm hoping that I'll have enough strong opinions early that I'm barely betting the Derby. That's my hope. So, because
I hear you.
It's a disaster.
I'm right with you on that. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I got a nice future in the Derby also, so I don't know if I'm even use my future Derby horse in the KDBC. Hopefully, I won't need to, and that's Paladin, by the way, Ryan. So I'm alive to a 5-digit score to Paladin. So anyway, but we got a long way to go. Anyway, Ryan, really appreciate it. I was going to ask you, we got to get going here, but obviously play Canaletto in the contest this Saturday. Just a big push in the double or win bet. The odds aren't out yet, or the PPs. You'll probably get. I mean, it's a pretty open field. I'm assuming you're going to get, at least 5-2 around there on him, I would think.
I'll take the under, but I hope so.
Okay. Very good.
Pratt is getting off Brant and flying across the country to fly him.
True. Okay.
5-2.
9-5. 9-5, we'll say. Ryan Petriniak, again, congrats. Thanks for coming on the HHH Racing Podcast. You're always welcome, my friend. I will see you soon, and good luck in the future tournaments.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye, Ryan. All right. Great guy, Ryan Petriniak. There you go. Let's get into some possible. Actually, Matt, do you want to talk about the leaderboard? Do we need to talk about standings or anything? You just want to get right into the contest?
I want to go back. So let's go.
We got to talk about Ryan. We got to talk about myself a little bit in Jackson too, and Brad Anderson.
Exactly. So I'd like to go back exactly where you just went,
and Chris Couples.
So let's just briefly go down this list.
All right, you do it.
So Chris Couples, you click on his pick. It's absolutely ridiculous, the sense he made of that Arkansas bred race at the end. And I mean, okay. I mean, we're all looking at the number in somewhat disbelief, except we've seen Skippy do this before. So yeah, nice job, Chris. All right. Who's next on the list?
Well, I just want to show for people that weren't overly familiar with the, where the heck is it here? I was going to show hold on a second. So I want to show the payouts of the last race, Matt, real quick. There it is. Just a $100 horse over I think it was, here we go. Just that's 49 normal. Over 25 to 1.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yep. Go ahead, Matt.
All right. So I need your screen back.
Yep, I'm getting there. All right. Go ahead.
So this was almost an episode of All in the Family for a while. Steven Zare, who's just another contest monster. Congratulations. Let's open up Jackson. Jackson sat on the show with us last week, and I mean, quite literally at some point, the three of us were in the top 8. It was totally crazy. You and I fizzled out for different reasons, and next thing you know, Jackson's the one emerging victorious amongst us. So, what's the big play there? I see it's race 11. He
went all in win bet on class president.
Yeah, that's right, and that was that. Right, that was
actually minus $24. He had a $24 double 4-3, but other than that, yeah.
And I think up until that point, he had done virtually nothing, just some protective show bets. So, yeah, it's a great exercise in patience of waiting for your spot and then hitting it. So, congrats to Jackson. That was really cool. Okay, and then we keep going. Our good buddy Brad. I mean, he's just nice stealth as can be. What's the winning play there?
He had a double from race 8 to race 9. The 3 in that race was the maiden race that was pretty loaded maiden race, and the 9 I'm drawing a blank on, but I could look it up.
Okay, but I remember 9. I think he was pretty comfortable as things were simmering.
Oh, it was the Honey. It was Explorer. So he had a bit of a price into Explorer, fancy fairly into Explorer.
Yeah, and look, to talk about your play for a second, Howard. I think Brad did what, in retrospect, you could have done.
Could have.
Which is just say, I'm going to make my move earlier.
Right.
And he liked his chances with Explora more than with the later races. And obviously, right now, you're going to say, of course, that makes sense. At the time, it was a little tougher, but okay.
Right. I was trying to find the the $40 show bet that I put on the 3. Oh, it's right below this. So I like the 3 also. Actually bet it. Actually, Noah knows that because I bet it on the side, but I didn't. I bet it a little more on the side just because I didn't want to bet in the contest. It's not showing up here, but I got a $40 show bet on the 3 that ended up winning. But I didn't like Explorer. In fact, Noah, you've been sort of quiet today. I haven't given you, well, you've been quiet because you're respectful. We haven't given you a chance to talk.
Yes.
I will say this, Noah, just even though this is a little side note, I can't wait to bet against Explorer in the Kentucky Oaks. I don't like her at all in that race. I think she's completely overrated. Since you're a West Coast guy, I thought you might want to comment, yay or nay on that thought.
No, I support the idea. I'm not going to say I fully support it, but she's just tactical enough to where she can make her own good trips. Yeah. I do think that the 9 furlongs is probably going to pose a problem at some point. But It's also like some of these other fillies, there's maybe 2 or 3 that kind of lead the division. I think it's kind of a big drop up to the rest. So
I agree.
Able to kind of get the tactical advantage to some of the others, then that alone might just make her good enough.
Plus, seems like the better horses are speed horses. But anyway, we'll talk about the Oaks. So what happened to me, for people that don't know, I need to get in the top 8. I fell a heartbreaking $16 short. And at the end, I made 2 very small bets. I did $150 to win on the 9 and a $25 exact to 10-9. And I, we're not going to rehash the whole thing, but it ended up not working well for me. Matt, you want to talk about the last race photo real quick, and then we'll get on to next week, because if I hadn't lost the photo by a millimeter, you and I are 99% guaranteed I would have gotten a seat. Is that right? For a second?
The guy behind you, Zach, I believe had bet the 10 horse to place large. And so you were in trouble.
The other 2, but we talked about that, but the other 2 wouldn't have gotten in. Chris.
Yeah. And I didn't go through the rest of the bets in the field, but my gut tells me no, I'm not sure. It's certainly possible.
And there's also, and I know, Matt, don't get mad at me, but I just want to mention, and we feel horrible for Phil, Matt, who played unbelievable. I don't know if you saw this, Noah. Phil, Matt said, is an excellent player, finished with 3,300, but unfortunately didn't fill the minimums there, Noah. And so actually, no, in reality, I actually finished 2 back, not 1 back, because he didn't. I mean, I know it says 9th, but in my mind, I finished 10th. That just makes me feel better, Noah.
Well, look, I'll turn it around.
We've all been there, by the way. So, Phil, sorry, man, but you'll kick butt next time.
I'm gonna flip it around and make you feel slightly worse.
Oh, great! Thank you.
When I'm playing these tournaments by myself, meaning I'm not sitting here on a screen, I can actually concentrate. I actually look to see, have people made their minimums? And if I were concentrating on this tournament more, I would have seen that he wasn't going to get there. Yeah. And I'm guessing if you knew you weren't really in 8th place, you were really in 7th, you might not have played that $150. You might have felt a little safer. Who knows? Who knows? We can play these games all day long.
All right.
But it's like, I'll call it a mini tip of the week. It's not a bad idea to check and see if people are going to get DQ'd. You can see what they're doing. And if it doesn't look like if it doesn't look right, it's not. And they're going to get DQ'd. So, okay, let's keep going.
All right. So we got about 5 or 6 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to get yelled at by Noah and Matt that I went too long, even though Matt's the one that's blabbing. But anyway, so Noah, the contest this Saturday is a combination of Oaklawn and Tampa. In all fairness, ladies and gentlemen, as we film this at 7:30, currently local Eastern, the PPs for Tampa have not come out, and the entries just came out. No, and I'm just going to show it to everyone. And Matt, it's a great card at Tampa. I guess the split reaction here, split second reaction is there are some 7-horse fields early here, Matt and Noah, and the fields at the end are pretty large size, and there are plenty of stake races. So I don't know if you've any thought at all. No, I'll just show the Tampa Bay Derby. I don't know if you've thought in this race or what you may do at Tampa, or what someone might want to do just by scanning it over for the first time.
Well, Ryan said bet Canaletto, and he ended up turning $400 into $6,400 last week. So I think that's probably a pretty good direction to go. I'm just looking at the tournament rules and stuff for next week on Saturday. So you got 23 races to choose from. So there's going to be a lot of work done. Oaklawn's already out. It's been out for a little while. They actually have morning lines too. And then
I think it's 6 minimums, isn't it, Noah? Can you check that?
Is,
Likely.
yes, $30.
But you can bet either track as much as you want. You can go 6 Tampa and 0 Oaklawn.
Yep.
But usually it's 5 minimums. This is 6 minimums, correct? On Saturday.
Yes, that's correct. 6 minimums. Got to bet $400 and $30 each bet.
And here's Oaklawn. I know you probably looked at that more carefully. There is a stake race, Matt, at the end of the card, the Azeri with Nitrogen, who's going to be 1 to 5 in a 7-horse field. Don't mean to steal your thunder, Noah, but I would assume that would be a late play in this contest, possibly for anyone.
Probably the majority. I think if I were playing, I'd probably make an early play at Oaklawn, and then my late play would probably just be at Tampa, because I think those are some races where you've got more proven commodities, and especially those turf races I love to play. I think you can get some great value in those.
The timing is interesting. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the Tampa card ends in race 12. So just for everyone, the Tampa card ends at 6:05 Eastern, and the Oaklawn card actually doesn't end until 6:50 Eastern, Noah. So Oaklawn ends 45 minutes later. Would that change your opinion on what you just said?
No, I'd probably just try to get to an imposing total and then make people try and beat me with the last 2 races at Oaklawn, because from what I've seen, they look very difficult.
Was there a particular play you want to mention before we end our show today?
Yeah, let's go to race 5 at Oaklawn. It is one of the few allowance races. The card kind of reminds me of a card they had a couple weeks ago where there really wasn't a ton going on. A lot of claiming races on this card on Saturday. This is one of the few allowance races, race 5. You've got what looks to be pretty much a 2-horse race between the 3 Untamed Moment and the 9 Pajojo de Oro for D'Amato and Vasquez. I think those 2 are head and shoulders above the field, but I like the 3 considerably more. So I might actually do something similar to what I did in the first race last Saturday, where I would bet the crap out of the 3 and then also bet the straight exacta, or I might just shove on the straight exacta, because there's about a 99% chance that the winner either comes from the 3 or the 9. And I think it's probably about 75% that those 2 run 1-2.
Okay. And the 3 is actually stretching out.
They both are.
And they're both stretching out. Interesting.
Yeah, they ran 2nd and 3rd behind each other last time.
So, Matt, I'm going to do a very small mini poo-poo pushback just because it's been mentioned by some very, very, very excellent handicappers. Noah's going to go basically all in on horses that are favorites that are doing something they have never done before, which is go 2 turns, Matt. I'm not saying Noah's wrong at all. I'm just bringing it up as something factual.
Yeah, look, I'm probably the wrong guy to say that to. I throw all that stuff out the window. It's a numbers game.
I do too.
you need to get to a number, and if you've got good confidence in the race, it's as good a spot as any. Go get them.
I agree. No, I appreciate your opinions there. I don't have any strong opinions because I haven't had a chance to look at Tampa or Oaklawn, so I will take a pass on that. Matt, you got a tip of the day to end the show, my friend. What do you got?
All right. Well, I want to go back a teeny bit. There's no way I'm going to read this long list, but to whoever I went through the pain of actually looking at all the winners. So I'm just going to call out in particular Steven Zare, who won 5 meaningful events last week. Kevin Lux 3. A whole bunch of other regulars did really well. And so congrats to all of you. In terms of the tip of the week, so we did a little mini one earlier talking about you can look to see if people are on the verge of being DQ'd and maybe factor that into your own play. But the tip that I wanted to go with is actually something that Jackson and I talked about this week. There was, I think, a 6-horse race that had 2 even money shots. And he says, how the heck am I supposed to Dutch show bets or whatever in these sorts of circumstances? And it just got me to thinking, it doesn't have to be show bets. It doesn't have to be anything. The idea of protecting your bankroll, in that case, I said, look, you got 2 even money shots and you got a bunch of 8, the other 3 horses are 8-1. Why don't you just bet, half your minimum on one to win and half your minimum on the other to win? And if obviously one of them did win. The point just being, if you're too married to one strategy, that might not work very well. One of these crazy 14-horse races at Turfway, just picking one horse to show. First of all, the show payouts there are spectacular. So you're betting to win more money than you realize. I'd be spreading out a bit. And there's no harm in taking 3 or 4 horses to show, hoping the 2 of them do. So bottom line is, as you're trying to be safe, I just wouldn't apply the same exact prescription to everything. That's it.
Okay. Well taken, my friend. I appreciate that. Noah and Matt, a lot of fun. By the way, almost record live viewership for all of our shows right now. Several hundred people watching live. We want to really thank everyone who's watching and listening. Again, please hit that subscribe button, notification bell on the top, and smash the like button, because people don't understand how important it is for YouTubers to hit that like button below the video player. It brings like-minded people to our podcast, and the YouTube algorithm sees that and sends it out to more people who like horse racing, just brings more people to our podcast, which ultimately helps revenue and many other things. So we really do appreciate if you're enjoying the show, you want to hit that like button. For wonderful, excellent contest players and good friends and co-hosts, Noah Maher, Matt Miller, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 17 of the Leaderboard. And I will just say this, I'm not sure I've mentioned it before in closing, is that we are thankfully contracted through the Kentucky Derby. So thank you very much, TwinSpires, and hopefully way beyond that, we're going to be doing some extra work for the KDBC, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be a lot more information coming up on that, but we are going to be full throttle, guys, in the contest play through the Kentucky Derby with our good friends at TwinSpires. So we're very thankful for that. Crush your bets in that tournament through TwinSpires this weekend, Tampa Bay and Oaklawn. It's the $800 KDBC qualifier. Take care. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his HHH Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.